Hey guys, SGT here. I wanted to introduce someone to you who's a friend of mine. We've worked together in the past, and he's got a really great grasp on some of the things happening in California in terms of their economics, their funding issues, and essentially what's otherwise known as the bankruptcy of California. His name is Jeff. He's a cinematographer, and he's worked on some movies, television shows, and commercials that you've seen. And Jeff, I just wanted to say thanks for joining us.
It's a privilege to speak with you today.
When we spent some time together recently on some work, we talked a little bit about the issues in California. I wanted to read you something, Jeff, just to get the ball rolling here. And this comes from Mike Krieger at KAM. Quote, "We have clearly entered the next stage in this tragic circus called the global monetary and financial system death spiral. The final stage comes when the system consumes itself as a result of its refusal to reform, and we are there now. The fact that most people are completely unaware of it or have such strong normalcy bias that they can't see what is directly in front of their faces is immaterial. It is here, it is irreversible, and it will unleash a cyclone of chaos and confusion that will leave many literally suspended in disbelief as the entire false paradigm most of humanity has lived under for their entire existence is washed away forever." Jeff, we talked a little bit about the normalcy bias and the fact that folks just seem not to be able to recognize how bad things have become fiscally for California. And the way California goes, so goes the rest of the country. Why don't we just get your perspective on what you see in California?
We have a governor who absolutely refuses to deal with a lot of the labor union issues and to curb spending. And he's now coming back to the citizens of California asking for higher income tax and higher sales tax. Right now, the average income tax for California is 9.55%. That's on top of your federal income tax. And we just can't go any higher. And without, the government curbing their expenditures and trying to correct it on their end, they're asking for more revenue, which people in California just don't have. There's so many foreclosures here, so many jobs that are lost. Personally, I have 4 or 5 friends that are losing their houses. Brown has at least exposed the truth of the state budget, something that Arnold Schwarzenegger never did. And it wasn't until Brown, I think, started looking at the finances and he really saw what was going on in this state.
Yeah, that's interesting. So he got in, and I think I did hear him say that it's worse than we thought.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think he was in shock about what the reality of the state budget really was. Basically, California's been operating under a false budget for years and years, and he just now has exposed what the budget of California actually is. He is trying to do as much as he can. I think he knows that his hands are tied with these labor unions, and so he's going after the easiest thing to do, and that's raise taxes.
Yeah, and Jeff, I think what's scary is that most people in this country don't realize that as California goes, so goes the rest of the nation. California is the 7th biggest economy on the planet.
Exactly. California, to me, represents another indicator of the writing on the wall of what's happening to our economy, not only in the United States, but worldwide.
You've had a bit of an awakening yourself, and I think...
Since you've introduced me to a lot of the information that's on YouTube and some of the information that you've produced and some other people, it's been a real eye-opener for me.
And one of the things that's interesting about it is that I think, a lot of people are like you, Jeff, to the extent that people know something's wrong, but until you take a day, a week, a month to sit down and really study the issues, it's easy just to kind of ignore them, isn't it?
Well, it is, and I think that California kind of represents a lot of what people are doing with their own personal finances as well. They're unwilling to make certain cuts. They want to keep living at a high standard of living, and so they won't take the drastic steps. They won't take the warning of, say, like to buy silver, to actually pull money out of the stock market, which stock market is still above 12,000, and that makes people happy. And so when they're happy with their stock portfolio, they really don't want to consider anything else that's going on, and they don't take the time to educate themselves of what's really going on. And I'm guilty of that myself. I knew that there were strange things going on, and I would get worried about the economy, but until I was really introduced to you and knowing what's going on with the manipulation of silver prices, it's like, what do I do? How do I protect myself? Because it seems like anything I do, I'm going to be stuck. In California, we love the state so much. It's like, it's so great to live here. It's like, how could this really affect us? How could this really happen to us? It's too good to happen to us, type of thing. And that's where I think the mentality of the people lies, not only in California but also the United States. It's like the United States is in our minds, is such a great country that how could it get that bad?
Yeah.
They don't want to believe it. And there's just too many writings on the wall. And, since I've learned this and I've been sharing my ideas and opinions to people, of course, the first thing that people say is that you're a doomsday activist or whatever. But when you start looking at what is going on in the financial world, not just, within the United States, but worldwide, you've got countries that are bankrupting. You have food prices that are going crazy. You're having social disorder. Look at what's happening in Egypt, in Jordan, in Algeria, even in Yemen. Social unrest is really starting to become a reality. And when I was looking at what was happening in Egypt, I was just imagining what it's going to be like here in America when everything hits. I don't want to be in that position. I want to be in that position where I do have an option. And buying the silver is, I think, from what I've educated myself with in the last month, seems to be the way to go. And when you talk to certain people, they'll tell you that, silver and gold isn't that great of an investment, and they don't understand, as I didn't understand, how much of a hedge it is for my own portfolio. Because I know in 2008, when I lost a third of my, retirement just overnight, practically, it was a real eye-opener. And it's like, well, what do I do with this money? You want to make an investment, you just don't want to take it out and stick it under a mattress.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think what's interesting about what's happening in California with the people you're talking about and across the country is this normalcy bias, which people believe that since in their lifetimes nothing absolutely catastrophic has happened in terms of an economic collapse, they believe that since it hasn't happened, it can't happen. And
exactly.
And that's a dangerous mindset, because what those people are giving themselves permission to do is ignore the facts. And the facts are Moody's, the credit rating agency, Moody's, has begun treating unfunded pensions like bond debt, giving California a combined tax-supported debt of $136.9 billion. So those pensions that you're talking about, that's the 800-pound gorilla in the room, because one way or the other, it's going to bring down California if it's not addressed. And they can't address it just by raising taxes, can they, Jeff? They're just going to drive out healthy businesses. They're going to drive out entrepreneurs like yourself. They're going to send people to other states.
Oh, most definitely. It's just getting ridiculous. And, it just saddens me that our local government, they cannot figure out anything else except just to raise taxes. They will not cut spending. The labor unions, the state employee federal unions, they control this state, and they control a lot of the politicians. And now we have a governor who actually, when he was governor 20 years ago, he's the one who allowed the state employees to form the unions. And so I don't think that is going to disappear anytime soon.
Thanks for watching, guys. Click here for part 2.